Ladies and gentlemen, you and I both know that on this YouTube channel, sometimes you learn how to play chess, sometimes you learn how to not play chess, but more than anything else, a lot of my videos are intended to bring positive emotion out of you. For example, have you ever looked at something and said, wow, I don't understand, I'll never be that good at chess, or looked at something and said, wow, I never get opponents that are that bad? Well, in this video, you are going to wonder how these folks even survive in the wild. Like, how do these people who made this chess game today know how to tie their shoes, or brush their teeth in the morning, or make a cup of tea? Without further ado, before we jump into the game, I must just give you a little bit of a warning that today's game is nothing short of a chess funeral. This might be the final chess game ever played in history. I don't think we have to move past this anymore. Obviously, the players' names have been a bit edited, and if you caught the most recent Guess the ELO episode, you will know and remember this game. However, we will actually analyze the game in much greater depth in this video. That's the difference. In Guess the ELO, I just sort of go, and then I guess the ELO. So, the game is between an 820 and a 790. It is not a fake game, and it begins with e4, e5. And when I say that in the 39 moves of this game, e4, e5 were by far the most normal moves, everything from this point forward is downhill. Buckle up, fasten your seatbelts, and even if the moves are going to be familiar, trust me, the commentary will not. White plays the move f4. Now, this is either the full blunder of a pawn, or it is White's attempt to play the King's Gambit. The King's Gambit is a very legitimate opening. The best move for Black is to accept the gambit and then try to punish White on the weak area near the king, which is why in this position the best move for White is knight f3. And the best move for Black is considered to be g5, this incredible move to try to play g4 and then get the queen to h4 once again. However, Black plays the move f6. Now, for those of you who are beginners and early intermediate players, you need to know something. The move f6 after the move e5, like this, or like this, is always bad. Why? Because the light squares near the king are wide open, and you remove the natural developing square for the knight. This is very different than playing f5, which is at least the gambit, and the thing is, with Black, it's much worse to weaken your king than with White, because at least White goes first. White gets a chance to consolidate. This loses because there is a sacrifice of a knight and then queen h5 check. This is a very well-known thing. So after the move f4, f6, White really should take on e5 and then hope for queen h5 check, just winning the game on the spot. But that doesn't happen. Instead, White plays knight f3, and Black plays c6. So now Black has successfully stopped the development of both knights. So Black has moved two flank pawns, one square. Now neither of the knights can move, so completely sabotaging their own development, which is why the engine thinks that this position is already 1.5, 1.6 for White. Now, what White should do here is obviously another development of a knight. There is also just a free pawn once again. And bishop c4 is what they played in the game, but bishop c4 is an inaccuracy and actually plays directly into the move c6. You should avoid moving your bishops in the middle of the board when the counterpunch of d5 is possible. Anytime your opponent can make a pawn move in the middle of the board without sabotaging their own position and attacking your bishop, you probably should avoid it. White here plays bishop b3, and now White is losing. So White goes from a dead loss position for Black to a dead loss position for White because de4, and now you just have to move the knight somewhere, and like, let's say you go to h4, Black can play, g6, bishop g7, etc., and just have a good position. But of course, White is still threatening this because Black did this to themselves. But obviously, knowing something about this game, both sides just completely miss the fact that this is hanging, and Black plays the move knight e7. Knight e7, very bad move because obviously you block your own bishop. Like, if you were going to develop something here, why wouldn't you develop the bishop to c5 now? Right? This doesn't attack the bishop because pawn takes pawn. Like, you might as well develop the bishop, but no, okay, we block our own pieces. White here plays a good move, I have to say. d3 is not a bad move. Activating the dark squared bishop, and maybe next White will play knight c3 and castle. So far, White is definitely playing the more natural of the two. Black now does in fact spot pawn takes pawn. White spots it as well. And now we have queens facing each other. Now, if I give this position to about 100 beginners, maybe 70 to 80 of them will just play the move queen takes queen, because a lot of people like to make their opponent's king move. And then they say, oh, well, now they can't castle. My diabolical plan. That's what you sound like when, you have those thoughts. Yeah, so I mean, queen takes d1 is just the move you play without really any thought. It might not even be the best move in some positions. In this case, it actually does happen to be the best move. The problem is for black that black has very, very bad pawn placement, which gets in the way of developing the other pieces. But development doesn't really matter if you trade off the most powerful attacking piece. Without a queen, white can't really say that they'll ever do much damage, but with the queen on the board, white will do damage. Now, black gives a check, because you know the rule. If you see a check, you have to give it. White here blocks with the bishop. That's a fantastic move. And somehow, by some miracle, black doesn't hang the queen. But black is completely lost. Black is completely lost because white has superior development. White has much better pieces, like the white bishop here is very nice. The knight actually does something, attacking the middle. This piece is even playing. White can even get another piece into the game and have 4 pieces versus 1. And also the king is weak. Like the black king really doesn't like feel very comfortable. The white king is not super comfortable, but at least can always go long. Or you can block this diagonal and then castle short. So white plays the move queen e2. That is not a bad move at all. And now black plays knight g6, attacking f4 and opening the bishop. But that's sort of the problem, because if you had never played f6, your knight would have gone here immediately. You would have never had to block your position at all. White here plays bishop e3. You might be asking yourself, by the way, Levy, this isn't that bad. I mean, to be honest with you, I probably would have played worse than both of these players. Yes, I know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know that you're that bad. Only you know that you're that bad. Actually, some of you don't even know that you're that bad. That's actually the secret in chess, convincing yourself you're not that bad. That's not really the secret. The secret is to be a Gotham subscriber, let's be honest. So we're getting there. We're getting there. White has actually done a pretty decent job here, attacking the queen once again and blocking the diagonal. And now black moves the queen again and spots a check. That's a great move. I know the computer is not happy about it, but to my eyes, it's a wonderful move because there are now, there are 2 hanging things, right? It's just a fork. Now, what white should probably do is move the knight, but it's not so easy because then f4 is hanging. So the move knight g6 actually did attack something, and black will just be a pawn up. Still worse because of white's monster amount of development. But white plays c3. Now, c3, believe it or not, is the top engine move. Believe it or not, is the best move. It's the best move because even though you're going to lose this pawn, apparently after knight d2 and queen f5, you're still winning because, again, you have monster development and you're just going to open the center. So fe, and Stockfish just wants to castle here and claim a +7 advantage, even though white is down a pawn. And that's just because black left the king in the middle and black hasn't gotten any development, and black's queen is just going to be a target for the pieces, right? +7 simply means that in a few moves, the attack on black will be so devastating that they will need to sacrifice material in order to survive, and that material to the tune will be about 7 points, which is fatal. However, black doesn't even see that. So, okay, this is black's 11th move. Black has made 1, 2, 3, 4 moves out of the first 11, which is about 36% with the queen. Black, if you then add repetitive other moves, I mean, it's a lot of moves. Black's played 11 moves and hasn't done a whole lot of anything. So what white needs to do now is step on the gas, okay? You can step on the gas in a couple of ways. You can start taking stuff or you can start attacking stuff, right? Move f5 doesn't look so bad, but the thing is now it's hard to make a move because you sort of lock the middle. Yes, it's +6, but +6 at the 800 level is like -6 to +12. Like, it's just a huge range of moves that are possible. You know, white could go here. Like, you really just don't know how quickly white might completely combust. Castles is not a bad move. It doesn't really do much. In fact, it hangs a pawn, and now knight takes f4. Now, this is the one remaining moment that white can get an advantage here. What is the most forcing move that white has here? The most forcing. Forcing meaning you demand a response out of black. It's actually a trick question, now that I'm realizing. The most forcing move that white has is bishop f7. That is actually the most forcing move because it forces one of these moves. And probably king takes bishop, right? The attack on the king is the most forcing. The second most forcing move in chess is a capture. So if you take something, probably, you know, there needs to be a response. Bishop takes knight is the most forcing move. And the third most forcing move in all of chess is an attack on the most valuable pieces. We already look at the king because that's a check, and attack on the queen with the move e5. Anytime you have a queen and a king like this opposite one another, you gotta rip open that center. Just rip it straight open because there's a king on the other side. And very quickly, this can get very ugly. Don't take with the queen. You don't want a queen trade. You want to open up attacking possibilities. This is coming. It's going to be an avalanche coming this way. I mean, 2 rooks is 10, queen is 9, 19. Add the knights and the bishop. That's another 9, 28. 28 points of pieces coming down at what? I mean, they're all asleep. You can't even say they're playing. So you have to take and push. Queen d1 offering a queen trade is a disaster of a move. And in a position where you are falling behind quickly in development and worried about your long-term prospects, just trade queens. You have to trade the queen here because, again, without your most powerful piece, you're not going to mate anybody. You're just not. Later in the game, maybe, but not right now. Now, obviously, that doesn't happen. Here, black takes, gets tunnel vision, and immediately plays the move knight d3, blocking white's queen. And from this point forward, whatever drugs that these players took prior to sitting down and playing these games, this game kicked in, okay? I don't know if they were taking illicit substances. I don't know if they drank too much. Parents, you might have to explain a little bit about that. I mean, it could be allergy drugs. I mean, drug is a big term. It doesn't need to be illegal, of course. It could be just. I mean, I'm taking something with 20 letters in it for my allergies. I don't know. So yeah, you're not ready for this. Okay, so take a sip of water. I'm going to take a sip of water, and from this point forward, we are about to witness 2 animals throwing their feces at each other in a zoo cage. Here we go. All right. Bishop c5. I cannot begin to even pretend to explain that move to you. So first of all, that fails on a couple of fronts. I think the idea here was queen takes and then this. Maybe the idea was knight takes and then that's a free queen. Both of those ideas fail completely, but it wasn't even punished because this is check. So that doesn't work at all. And then knight f2, and now all of a sudden black is just up a full rook and completely winning. So yeah, bishop c5 is, a visit to Ooga Town, population Booga. Queen d7, though, I mean, just doesn't even... And white's like, oh, my bad. White's like, oh, yeah, sorry, that was a mistake. Black just develops as if nothing happened. But because black sabotaged their light squares early, they can't even castle. So bishop e7 is not a good move. It would have been far superior to play something like bishop c5 and trade and stuff. But okay, knight d2. And now black realizes that really this strategy that they've employed is really bad. They've completely blocked their own development. So they move their queen yet again. And now they're completely lost because this knight can go attack the queen and kick it around. And actually that happens, forcing the queen to move again. Now, it's very difficult to find the best move here. The best move for white is to slide the queen out and then bring the rook. So yet another piece to the attack, because black really is only playing with one piece, and you can hardly say this is a piece at all. It's kind of a bear with its foot stuck in a trap. But white blunders right away with bishop a4, which I cannot even begin to explain. I don't get this move. You were never going to take anything here. And now black just plays b5. Like, you are just presenting opportunities to the opponent on a silver platter. However, remember a couple of moves ago when I said that black can't castle? Well, at this point, black goes, wait a minute, I absolutely can castle. The bishop is now completely off this diagonal. Oh my gosh, look at me, I'm so smart. I mean, to black's credit, they have to make some progress in the position, so castling does make sense. At this point, white realizes that moving the bishop out to a4 was extremely bad and moves it all the way back to c2. So there's a lot of bishop shuffling. This attacks this. Now, this knight has 2 moves. It can escape this way, it can escape this way, and naturally, black chooses not to escape at all, but rather die in a, perilous and uneventful manner. F5 just, I don't understand. Like, you brought the knight here. Like, you brought the knight to d3. Why would you let it die? Do you not remember the road you took back? It's like finding your car in a big parking lot, all right? It's not a skill that everybody's good at. I mean, just go out. You came from that square. It's one move. It's not even like over here. You have to retrace all your steps. Just go back. Or this way. Like, the chance of you accidentally playing a good move here is actually pretty high. But no, we're going to lose the knight. Now, of course, white should not trade queens, because white will be up a piece and can use the queen to attack, but white opts to trade the queens. And black here plays bishop d7. That's not a horrible move. White now can play pawn takes pawn. White can also take the pawn directly in the middle of the board. So white just has 2 knights staring directly at this pawn. But I don't hate white's move here. White says, I haven't moved my rook yet. You know what? White has my respect. We oftentimes forget about our rooks. All right, and black can avoid mistakes like f5 by thinking about this. I should not make pawn trades that open the position when I am behind in development. Look at all these pieces playing in the game. I got like one piece. If I open things up, it's probably not going to do me any good. If I had another bishop and another knight, then maybe the move f5 makes sense. But this is just not good right now. Rook d1. Knight a6, and now knight a6. So this is kind of funny. This, right? Rook, queen on the same line. If you take this bishop, what happens? You can't, because it's defended twice. But what about now? I mean, if I asked white a move ago, first of all, white did not take this because it's defended. I already know that. That's the first thing people look at. So you go here, and now you don't even take the bishop. You go, oh, free pawn. I mean, you're right. It is a free pawn. And even though you're only up 3 points of material, it's a lot worse than that. It's a lot worse than that because of the activity. It's really, this king is just on the verge of absolute annihilation due to black's second move of the game, which was f6. Now black plays f takes e4, attacking the queen. White takes back, and now we are staring directly at the h7 pawn, and black promptly blunders checkmate. This game wasn't extremely eventful, and it's only fitting that it comes to this conclusion kind of relatively early, with white playing the move queen to c4, checking the black king into the corner, and not playing checkmate whatsoever. I will never, ever understand this move. Ever. Like, you just made the queen move in this direction. It's just staring straight over there. How do you go here and then there? I just don't, okay, whatever, fine. Black, of course, should block with the knight, or, instead black just hangs a rook. Just clean, one move, it is game over, beyond over. Beyond over. I mean, it's so over. Obviously, you're not going to find mate in 8, which for anybody curious is king h8, sacrificing the knight to open the king, and then taking, and there's just nothing black can do to black is going to get hunted out this way, and the game will end with this rook getting involved. I mean, it's just very, very brutal. But after rook f7, white plays a move like, if you gave me a bounty here, I would never, ever be able to figure this out. Like, white has 2 bishops, 2 knights, 2 rooks, and a queen. Every piece. White has every piece except 3 pawns. White has only lost 3 pawns this entire game. And plays the move g4. Not taking anything, not even attacking anything. There are so many things in this position that you could take by accident and play a good move. What is g4? What could possibly be the idea of the move g4? Did black think, well, if they take me, then I take the queen? I don't know. I do not know. I cannot even fathom what was going on up here. It's just fascinating. Black plays the move bishop d6. Bishop d6 is incredible because it does nothing about f7, and it just hangs another piece. The rook just takes the bishop, and black has all the same problems, minus the bishop. Instead of that, white plays... What? Why? That wasn't even hanging. Also, why are you worried about what's hanging in your position? Why can't you take something, for God's sake? Okay, fine, bishop f4. Black plays bishop takes g4. Once again, that's hanging, that's hanging, that's hanging, that's hanging, because you could take literally anything here and still be winning. Everything is still hanging. And white plays queen d3. I'm sorry, weren't we just here? Didn't you just fail to take that pawn? Why are you going back to d3? Okay, now's your second chance, go prove yourself. What? I mean, I think Benji could have played a better move at this point. Rook e1? First of all, this is attacking this. At the very least, guard that. Okay, no, we don't guard it. Queen. What? It's check. I mean, at least it's check, let's be honest. And white walks into a fork. White walks into a fork. When in doubt, hide the king in the corner and shut your mouth. That's it. Hide the king in the corner. He is better off there more often than not. Don't move him up. But in this game, you move them up, you blunder the bishop, and you blunder the queen. And now black is winning. Are you kidding me? Now, in this position, what should happen is black should just immediately start trading stuff. So just take the knight. Don't even think about it. Just take the knight, all right? White will take back, take the knight. It's check. White will take back, take the rook. And by the time it all settles, you will never lose because white just doesn't have enough material to mate you. I mean, of course white has enough material to mate you. Like, look at the quality of the game, but you get what I'm saying. Just trade everything. Trade everything. Instead of that, black gets really excited. Black doesn't trade everything. Black goes, oh, I'm up a queen. I better take this pawn. It's not that bad of a move, but the problem is that now you're going to hang some bishops. Okay? So white just moved the king twice. So white moves the king a third time, taking the bishop. Triumphant king walk out to g4. You see, the king has sort of surrendered himself to defeat because the queen is gone. Queen takes c2. So black has an 8-point material advantage. It's much worse than that, though, because queen g2 is coming. White takes on d6, and it's mate in 4. We have gone from mate in 1, and mate in 8, and mate in 9, and mate in 7, and mate in 10 to mate in 4 for black, if you follow the path of the queen, and here you can win by mistake. So, for example, the king only has 2 moves, and if the king goes out to here, you can give a check with the rook, you can give a check with the pawn, you can play queen h3, and rook f5 is mate on the next move. Just queen g2. Every move, you should try to check or trade pieces. Check or trade pieces. Check or trade pieces. Okay, you took a pawn, you didn't check or trade pieces, and you hung a rook, but white has had a blind spot the entire game, right? So, rook d1. Now black plays rook e8. Now, again, white has an opportunity to take on f7. At this point, if white takes on f7, this position is actually still winning for black, because black has so many pawns and an active queen, and white's king is God knows where. But white plays knight g5. Now, knight g5 is an amazing move because it attacks the rook for a second time. Like, white moved here to attack this rook, even though this knight has done a good job attacking this rook for about, I don't know, the entire game. Like, since move 24, that knight could have taken the rook. Since move 24, this is now move 35. 11 moves later, white makes the same attack with another piece, and black doesn't take the knight, but instead gives a check. Okay, white blocks, and now, all of a sudden, we hang the knight. I mean, we hang the rook completely. So, the rook now has been taken by a knight after not being taken by the other one for 11 moves. And materially speaking, this is anything but over. Now we have knight takes e5. So, what is the count? Now white is up a pawn. It's just incredible. I mean, like, the way you win this with black is obviously you don't hang your rooks. You move your rooks out of the way. This rook was just, its fate was to die, let's be honest. But it's worse than that. Black proceeds not just to lose one rook, black actually loses the second rook. And then black hangs mate.